What's up, chess players? French defense is an incredibly interesting opening for black, and well, you enjoy this series when I roast your games, and that is another example of it. An incredible game, you're gonna be amazed by it. Ben Ashley, one of my subscribers, has played it as black, and it started with this French defense, and very instructive one also, so strategy and tactics are all together here, so let's take a look. So black is playing here c5. By the way, e5 is of course not the only move, but the most aggressive one. The position is immediately closed, and of course, black is playing c5. But the main problem is this bishop on c8, which is not doing a lot, and looking for some chances to participate in the game. And well, my subscriber Ben Ashley had here a specific question, namely where to play the move f6, because it's a very typical idea in the French defense, but he doesn't really get when you should really try it. So let's try to deal with it. It's a 1700 rated player against another 1700 rated, so very balanced game here. Knight to e7, but that was very instructive. So b4, white is trying to play with pawns before developing any pieces, before making castles. What do I say about that? That's bad. Don't do it. I mean, never do it. Only develop your pieces first, and then make sure that your king is safe, and then you can do whatever you want. I mean, let's just agree on that. Pieces first, castle second, and then if you want to just, I don't know, go crazy and push all of your pawns forward, okay, I'm fine with that. But first, please do those two things. Okay, b4, knight f5. Why? Why is it so bad? Well, because the king is still not safe. The king is completely naked here, and you have some weaknesses because all of your pieces are on the back rank. They are not doing anything at all, and that is why your opponent, which has already developed a great number of pieces, is attacking you. So in this case, my subscriber did the right thing here. After bishop e3, you could already take the bishop on e3 and enjoy two bishops advantage. But in this particular case, it's not a real advantage because look at this bishop on c8. It's so desperate. It's not really a lucky animal there. Why did I say animal? Because they call, in my native language in Russian, they say that bishop, it's called the elephant. So that's why it's an animal. The knight is a horse. So you have two animals on the board. By the way, why do they call the knight and not a horse? I mean, it's looking like a horse, right? Anyway, bishop e7, preparing the move f6. By the way, I believe f6 immediately could have been played. Why? Because once again, white is doing all of that stuff, very weird stuff, and not really developing the pieces, not really making the castles. But I understand that here you're making the same thing. Your king is still not castled and you're playing f6, so it might be dangerous. So I'm completely fine with bishop e7, a6. a6 is a move I never like. Like, don't do it. Just develop your pieces. Just focus on developing. Focus on your plans. a6, I understand, maybe you are afraid of knight b5, but there is no threat. I mean, d6 is covered, c7 is covered, otherwise there is no threat. And I repeat this thing once and once again. Don't fight against these threats that don't exist. It's a very simple rule, but it's gonna save you so much time. I mean, a6 is not useful. It's not helping you at all. Just castle. Just play f6. Just crush your opponent in the center and don't care about what's happening here. There is nothing dangerous at all. In fact, a6 might even weaken the dark squares more when your opponent plays something like knight a4, knight to c5. And also, of course, time. I mean, time is the most important thing in chess and in life. So if you want to get a good life, you need to be wise with your time. If you want to play a good chess game, you need to be wise with your moves, because you need to develop all of your pieces. You have a lot of tasks to do, and so you don't have any time for moves like a6 and h6 for that matter. I mean, what are you afraid of? I just don't get it. Just castle, just play knight takes e3 if you're afraid of knight g5 or bishop g5 or whatever it could be. But h6, I mean... Okay, finally, now you play knight takes e3 and f6. And you're playing it exactly in the moment where it loses the game. Why? Because now your opponent is already made the castles. Because of your stupid waiting moves like a6 and h6, your opponent had this precious time to finish the development, and now he's ready to attack you. he is stable in the center, the d4 pawn is protected because you exchange that bishop, and your king is still in the center, and you're playing f6, weakening all of your light squares. And your light squares bishop is still not in time to somehow help, it's just hopeless there. So that is the worst moment to play f6, and now I understand your question. So of course you can castle here first, you can prepare the move f6, at least make sure that your king is safe. And then maybe even start with some development, bishop d7, rook c8, I don't know. But don't, once again, come into the beginning of the video. Make sure that you have developed your pieces and that your king is secure, and then do something active in the center. Unless, of course, your opponent is doing the same thing. If his king is also very really stays there in danger, then you can just ignore your development, ignore your king's position. If you have a chance to punish your opponent and really deliver a checkmate, then yeah. But in all of the other case, develop your pieces, castle, and then begin those active things. So takes, and queen d2. Yeah, queen d2 is, of course, not the most active way, not the move that screams that I want to punish you immediately here. So instead of that, you can start to play knight a4, knight c5, attack here, and yeah, create some pressure in the center and so on. But queen d2 is still, yeah, kind of continuing the development. Rook d1. Rook d1 is a weird move. Like, when you are choosing the squares, also maybe e4 is an idea for white, and then it's important to defend it, because normally the rooks, you should place it on active files, on the files where you have some interesting opportunities. Like C file here has a great potential. A file here has no potential, just as an example. D1, in general, I don't like this move, but only if you have this very concrete idea, and I'm referring to your opponent, of course. Only if he has this very active idea of e4, and he needs this defender, because he's going to have 3 defenders against 3 attackers. If that's his plan, then I would agree that rook d1 is a useful move. Let's see. He played king h1, I guess with the same purpose, just to make sure that the king is safe, and then once again I can understand this move. And in general, I mean, when you don't have a dark squares bishop and you have some weaknesses on the dark squares, and king h1 is almost always a useful move. e5. Yeah. e5 is a very, like, f6 wasn't your biggest problem. e5 is your biggest problem. Why? Because you haven't calculated the variations. Yes, I understand. You have developed some of your pieces. You have made sure that your king is more or less safe, although it's not because of your move f6. And now you're starting those active actions in the center. But you haven't just calculated the variations. You haven't calculated what your opponent can do. Because, of course, this e6 pawn was protecting the d5 pawn. Now it's not. And before playing e5, you must take it into account. You must try to think, okay, what is changing in the position? What is, because every move changes everything in the position. And so you need to try to understand what exactly has been changed. And of course, this d5 pawn is a huge problem. And if you lose it, then the whole diagonal is, the whole diagonal is opened here. And yeah, you just can't ignore it. That, I don't know, if you have calculated that, if you have seen that that's coming, and you're still fine with that, I mean, you're crazy. So I suppose that you haven't seen that. I mean, no offense. I know that you're a good person, but I mean, you just can't allow your opponent to do that. So I assume that you have just blundered that, and that means that you haven't calculated the variations properly, because you start with the most active moves, not only for yourself, but also for your opponent. Checks, captures, and threads. So here you play e5, and you're thinking, does your opponent, I mean, you're about to play e5. You are thinking, does your opponent have any checks? No, that's not the case. Can he capture something? Yes, of course he can. He can take on e5, he can take on d5. Okay, you can just swap those pawns because you play e5, that's the first thing, you're automatically calculating what happens if your opponent is going to take it. And I don't know, perhaps you wanted to take with the knight, but then you still need to continue the variation. Okay, what is here available? Are there any checks? Yes, to say the least, queen takes d5 is a check, capturing the pawn. And if you see that, I guess that's already a good enough reason not to play e5. So that means that you should just continue your development somehow. Maybe bring your rook, maybe, yeah, improve your bishop somewhere here. That would be, yeah, a potential active bishop finally having some life. That would be something cool. But e5 is just blundering everything. Knight d5 has been played, queen d6. takes, and now takes on e5. Yeah, that's very good because white is winning 2 pawns and everything is great. But don't go away because I promise you, white didn't win this game. That was a hilarious endgame. Let's take a look at it. Bishop to d3, rook h5. I don't know what the rook is doing on h5. Probably still attacking the e5 pawn. That's the only reason. But bishop c4 check. And now opening up the rook. The rook is gonna be just a beast here along the d file. e6. Yeah, that's so huge. I mean, can you just believe that white didn't win this game? I can't. I just can't imagine how it's possible that the game wasn't won by white. g4, and now the rook doesn't really have any squares to go. It went to b5, yeah, now white can just take it. Rook d8 check, okay. Knight d4, so white doesn't want to take the rook, and that's a mistake because there is a square for the rook to go, e5. So I would prefer just to take it. If you can win some material, just do it. Don't be too clever and say, I don't care, I have a fancy combination. I mean, if you're absolutely sure that it leads to a checkmate, okay, do your thing. But otherwise, you can win an exchange. You are getting a lot of extra materials. Then you can play knight d4, attacking the b5 pawn, play knight f5, attacking the knight. You want to exchange everything. I mean, do it, but afterwards. First, grab your opponent's material. Okay, rook f8. Of course, white is completely winning here, no question about that. But at least this rook on e3 is now very active, grabbing the pawn, attacking the e6 pawn. I mean, black has something to dream about. Now bishop takes e6, a fancy move, sacrificing the rook, but I like it because at least your pieces are going into life, and that is the most important thing. Okay, rook h8, king to g6, knight takes e7. Yeah, there is a problem. You're losing the knight, but yeah, you're deadly lost already. It's almost impossible to change it. But now you have two active pieces, and this king on h1, suddenly it's like not that secure there anymore because all of the rooks are here for the moment doing absolutely nothing, and you might use it. So let's see what happened here. White played knight f5, attacking the rook, rook e1 checks, the most active move, and now king takes g4. So you are using your king to attack. I admire it a lot because you have only 3 active pieces. I mean, in general, you have only 3 pieces left, and you're using all of it as a combination to attack your opponent's king. That is beautiful. I really like that a lot. Now you're attacking that knight, and I mean, white has an extra rook, but the number of pieces doesn't matter. I mean, literally it doesn't matter. What matters is the number of active pieces. As long as those rooks are standing on h8 and a8 and don't have any active files, threads, ideas, it doesn't matter that you have an extra rook. What matters is that I'm attacking your king and, I don't know, maybe even deliver a checkmate if you're not careful enough. Knight takes g7, and that's already a draw here, because rook e2, and now there is no way to escape those checks. King f1, and now just rook e8 has been played, but no matter, the most important point is to control the e-file, not to allow your opponents to escape. And then just go back to e2, and the players agreed to a draw because white can't do anything here. The way to save it, of course, to add another defender. You can't leave your king to fight alone. So here, instead of knight takes g7, you can just go back to g3, control this key e2 square, control this f1 square, and there is literally no checks available for white, and then, sorry, for black. And then you can finally bring your rook back and finally show who is the boss here, because, well, you have an extra rook, you must use it. If you don't use it, then it doesn't matter at all. Yeah, so always follow your opponent's counterplay. Doesn't matter if you're a queen up, a rook up, doesn't matter. Just follow your opponent's threats. It's essential, and then you are fine. You're good to go because you're controlling everything, and then the extra material, of course, will play a role if you're playing actively. If you're losing, not losing, if you're using all of your pieces. Okay, I hope you have learned something today. If not, it's very sad, but I have tried my best to bring something new, something fresh to you. If you enjoyed this video, then in this one, I am roasting more of your games. I really hope that it's gonna be instructive for you. I am explaining so many ideas there, so definitely take a look if you want to bring your chess to the next level.